What's up guys, my name is Matthew and today I'm going to be talking about the 3 best thriller books I've read so far this year and the 3 worst thriller books I've read so far this year. If this is your first time on my channel and you are a thriller reader, please consider subscribing because it would really help my ego and my sense of self-worth. So Jesus is watching and this could be your good deed of the day if you do subscribe. I appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the 3rd least favorite book, 3rd favorite book, and I'm gonna break down all the way to 1. Timestamps will be at the bottom as always because we like efficiency here with Reading with Matthew. Also, it is the middle of September and we already have our Halloween decorations up here. I have been looking everywhere to get him a wife, a husband, a buddy. So if you can find him, someone, send me a link down below because I've looked everywhere. Amazon, Kirkland's, I cannot find him a buddy. So if you know where I can find some more of these, let me know because I've had him for about 3 years and I can't find him anywhere else. All right, to the books. Let's start with the 3rd worst thriller book I've read in 2022 so far. And that is gonna be The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. As you guys know, if you've watched my videos, I am a huge Riley Sager fan. I have all of his books. I don't know if you can see them up here. And the last 2 books he's released have not been winners. They've been pretty dull. And that's okay, we're still gonna read anything Riley Sager lets out, but this book was definitely not a winner. This is a book about a house across the lake. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so this is a book about a woman named Casey Fletcher, who is this famous actress who's kind of washed up. She's kind of a drunk. She's always knocking back bourbon. And she goes off to this camp, this secluded lake, to kind of get away from the press and get away from life. And she meets this couple that lives across the lake. And she starts to see that this couple, their relationship might not be everything it looks to be. The husband might be abusive, might be evil, and all of a sudden, the wife who's living across the lake goes missing. And the book ensues from there of Casey trying to figure out what happens to the wife, blah, blah, blah. Have you read this book 100 times? Yes. The only difference is that this book does have a paranormal twist, and I was weirdly okay with it. Normally, I don't like paranormal twists, but I knew about it going in. The reason why I did not like this book is because the first 200 pages are so mundane, it's literally 200 pages of this woman knocking back bourbon, unreliable narrator to the top. It just was boring. It was not interesting. I did not care. Honestly, when the paranormal stuff started happening, I thought it got a little bit better. So Riley Sager, sorry. I gave this, I think we gave it 2 stars. I don't really remember, but it was definitely a letdown. Hopefully he comes back next year stronger because you know, fuck, what are his 2 books called? I don't know. His two books, what is that right here? Home Before Dark and Lock Every Door are 2 of my favorite thrillers. So I will read anything he releases, but this was a flop. All right, let's go to my 3rd favorite book I've read so far this year. And that is Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. This is a debut novel from this author and I loved it. It is only about 300 pages and this book is fantastic. The first 3/4 of this book don't read like a thriller. It just reads like a contemporary fiction. But when you get to the last 1/4 of this book, shit gets wild. This is a book about a woman named Florence Darrow who works in publishing, and she gets an offer to work for this mysterious author named Maud Dixon. No one knows anything about Maud Dixon, whether Maud Dixon is a male, a female, old, young, nothing. Maud Dixon released this super, super popular book. Think like Gone Girl, that level of famous. And she gets this opportunity to work for her. And that's all I want you to know going into the book because it's best not to know going into it. And when you're reading it and you're thinking, this doesn't really feel like a thriller. Trust me, wait to the end. It gets wild and I promise you, you won't see some of the stuff coming. As the reader, you start to realize what's happening before the protagonist and you're like, girl, you are in danger. And just, it is so good. This was so shocking because I wasn't expecting to love this so much. But yes, definitely check out Who is Maud Dixon, number 3 so far for thrillers that I've read in 2022. Also, Stanley cups are back in stock. And if you are a weirdo who collects reusable cups, and yes, we exist. I have literally a full cabinet full of reusable cups. These are the cool ones everyone's drinking right now. So they are in stock, check them out. Let's go to my 2nd least favorite book of 2022 so far, and that is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. Just like Riley Sager, Karen Slaughter is one of my favorite thriller authors, so this was definitely a letdown. And this book, there's a good story here. I think the issue with this book is that the structure and the layout is so convoluted that it's hard to follow. And honestly, there's so much sluggish. And as the reader, you're very confused and not a fun level of confusion. So it just kind of flopped all around. There is a Netflix show, and I haven't watched it, but people say that the Netflix show is a lot better because they changed the structure of the book around a little bit to make it flow better. But this book is about a girl named Andrea Oliver who lives this very normal life, and she has this mom named Laura who she thought she knew everything about. But then one day, Laura kind of shows this side of her that is, who are you, Mom? I did not know this side of you. And Andrea has to go on the run. I'm trying not to tell you too much because you don't want to know too much going in. I read the sequel of this book last month. I'm gonna link up my wrap up, and I loved it. I think you can skip this book because it's not that good. I would read a summary online, watch the Netflix show, and skip to the sequel because you do want to know the characters in this book, but the sequel is so much better. Gordo's knocking over my pumpkin decorations. Yeah, so this is a skippable one. Read the sequel. I'm gonna put my wrap up where I talk about the sequel because it's so much better. But yeah, this was such a letdown. And it sucks because I have like a signed copy from Karen Slaughter, and this is my least favorite Karen Slaughter book. I also have a signed copy of Riley Sager, and my least favorite Riley Sager book is the one that's signed. That just sums up my life. All right, well, let's talk about my second favorite thriller book that I've read this year, and that is The Boys Club. And I don't even know if this is considered a thriller. Some people might think it's not thrilling, but this book is wild. I had so much fun. Again, was completely shocked by this book. I had a personal friend recommend me this book, and it is about a girl, don't know her name, what's her name? Alex, and she starts in Big Law. Big Law is when you graduate from law school and you're at the top of the class, you go work at these huge law firms, you make a lot of money, but you work like 15 hours a day, you sleep under your desk. It's just a cutthroat world, and we're following her joining Big Law. And what she does, try to get ahead, climb the ladder, get the partners to like her, get on the good cases, and y'all, this book is, some crazy shit happens, and it's so real of like law firm life. It's an exaggerated version of law firm life, but there's so much stuff in here that I was just like, yeah. Even if you're like, I don't want to read about lawyers, I get that. A lot of people don't want to read about lawyers because lawyers are boring, I agree. But this book is so good. Everyone who has read it since I've recommended has commented, been like, Matthew, I love this book, thank you for recommending it. Not enough people are talking about this book. So yes, The Boys Club is definitely my second favorite, second favorite book that I've read, thriller book that I've read this year. All right, let's talk about my least favorite thriller book of the year. And it was such a letdown. It kind of makes me angry thinking back on it. And that is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. This book needed an editor. Like, it is about 400 pages and it is so long-winded, so boring. It's about this girl named Hannah who starts at Oxford, and she becomes friends with this girl, April. And April's a very vivacious, lively, center of attention. She's the it girl. And April gets murdered. And this guy named John Neville takes the fall. We follow the trope of dual timelines where Hannah's in the future and she realizes, wait, John Neville might not actually have been the one who killed April. So we're getting dual perspectives of what happened back at Oxford, what's happening in the present. And it sounds a lot like my favorite book, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but this book is so boring. It is long-winded. Towards the end, I didn't even care who actually killed April. I just wanted it to end. It was such a letdown. And from what I'm seeing on Goodreads and what I'm seeing on YouTube, people agree with me. Actually, my review of this on Goodreads is my most liked reviewed. Everyone, like, I still get likes because I was kind of a bitch about it, but what's new? And yeah, this is so skippable. Read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I thoroughly did not enjoy this book. Ruth Ware is so hit or miss. Some books you love, some books you don't. I personally think she needs a new editor, and I would volunteer, but I'm way too busy. But yeah, so skip this one. Just trust me, you don't want to read this book. All right, are we ready to crown my favorite book, my favorite thriller book so far in 2022? You guys, is Ashley Winstead gonna take the crown 2 years in a row for my favorite thriller book? She just might. The Last Housewife. I have a signed copy of this, like I told you, I'm a nerd. And this is about a girl named Shay, who while she was in college up at this Northeast liberal arts college, she kind of gets sucked into this cult. And she finally escapes the cult. And again, we're getting dual timelines. And she has this group of friends that were also in the cult with her. And she realizes one of her friends that were in the cult that got away ends up murdered on the campus 10 years later. Shay realizes, shit, I wonder if my friend got sucked back into the cult and if the cult has anything to do with her murder. So Shay teams up with this true crime podcaster to go undercover back to this university where she was sucked into this cult to figure out what's going on. And it is a wild ride. It'll make you angry. There's so many trigger warnings. Ashley Winstead actually puts all the trigger warnings on like the first page to kind of warn you, because it is awful what happens to the women in this book. But it is such a good story, such a good message, so thrilling, so well written. Ashley Winstead, you are a queen. You know how to write thrillers. You know how to write thrillers for me. I think she's fantastic. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about this book. Just know that it's about a cult, a sex cult kind of, evil men, power dynamics, and yeah, it is thrilling. So hopefully this video is pretty short. I tried to, I don't have time to create a huge video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my choices. Please give this a like, leave me a comment, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys in another video soon.